Hello, today is January 30th, and it is the end of the month, at least for me as a crew member working where I do. Hello, my name is Darren. I'm a dad. I'm an airline pilot. I am a husband of a scientist, and this is my month in review for January. If you ever want to know what it's like to be an airline pilot, how much we work, overnights, pay, all that fun stuff, follow along, and I'll get to the stuff right away. So, for the month of January, I bid for my schedule back in December, and that's how we do it here. So, between the 8th and 13th of the month, I bid for my schedule, tell the airline what I want to do, and on the 16th, they award the schedule. Now, I am very junior where I am as far as on the aircraft I'm on. I've been on the aircraft for almost a year, be a year here in April. And when I bid for my January schedule, I was number 189 out of 218 in my status, meaning there's 218 pilots total that are first officers in Dallas on the 777, and I'm number 189. My airline wanted to give a line to 166 pilots. And you might be thinking, well, Darren, if you're 189 and they offered 166 lines, how are you a line holder? Great question, Darren. Because sometimes people want a bid reserve. Now, as an airline pilot, as a flight crew member, we are afforded the opportunity, the chance to kind of make our own schedule every month. So that if you have a certain event going on, you can bid around that schedule. And what could have happened is there could be people that are senior to me that maybe wanted all weekends off or certain days of the month off. And they told the computer, I want these days off if I can be a line holder. If I can't have these days off as a line holder, I want to be on reserve. Or if you're senior, you can be on reserve and not fly very much. So for whatever reason, other people above me opted to be reserve. So I got a line. Now, I'm a bottom end line holder. I think there's one pilot under me that's also a line holder, meaning we get whatever scraps of a schedule no one else wanted. So it's not a prestigious position right now. I mean, again, it's perks to being a line and reserve. I'll get to that at the end of the video. As far as the month, they wanted to build a line between 72 hours and 86 hours with a target of 79 hours, meaning they want to give me about 79 hours worth of credit for the month, worth of flying for the month. And what I was awarded 4 London trips for January, 3 as relief pilot, 1 as pilot flying. And I was like, well, you know what? It's London. I haven't been there in a while. I don't mind. And I tell people on a bad day, I fly a 777 to London. That's a bad day, really. And then, that's much better than my previous job where I was sitting in a cubicle all day long. So I don't mind what I get as far as my trips. I love what I do. Now, you'll see what I was awarded for the month, right? This is the schedule, the days I was, the days I was working, and that kind of thing. And that was more of a proposal. I didn't end up doing any of those trips. At my airline, we were allowed to trip trade. So, remember when you were a kid sitting at the lunch table, you'd have a fruit roll up, but Jimmy over there, he had a Slim Jim, right? So I want to trade my fruit roll up for a Slim Jim. So we trade, right? But then Kyle over there, man, he had a honey bun, and I really wanted a honey bun today. So I would trade back and forth. That's kind of what trip trading is. Every month, there's always uncovered flying. It could be flying that wasn't awarded to pilots at all. It could be flying that, say, someone's in the military and has military duty. Well, they could have been awarded the flying and then taken back due to their military obligation. Or call in sick, training, for whatever reason, there is always trips in the pool of uncovered flying. Now, I can trade my London for whatever's in the pool if it meets certain requirements with the airline as far as coverage days, if it's far legal, meaning I'm not going to fly too much in that time span, if I'm qualified to fly that trip. We have different qualifications at my airline. Additionally, I can trade with other pilots. And what typically happens is pilot A is supposed to go to Frankfurt. And they said, you know what? I see it's London and I actually want to get some chocolate from London for my wife. So I want to trade this Frankfurt for that London trip. Or maybe the London trip leaves at a better time for them because they're a commuter. So they'll trade a Frankfurt for a London or vice versa. And trips get moved around in open time and yada, yada, yada. So even though I was awarded 4 London trips, I didn't do a single trip I was awarded. So what did I do? Well, I ended up doing Incheon, Buenos Aires, London, and Madrid. Now, as far as my very first trip of the month, it began on January 3rd through 5th. It was an Incheon trip. I traded into this trip. It was worth 28 hours and 10 minutes worth of credit. We work on a credit system here. I might not fly every hour of credit, but that's what we're paid. Sometimes we have soft pay. For that trip, my hourly wages were $85.77.88. I was paid $140.82 worth of international pay. That's something we have here at this airline. It's not the destination. It has to do with how far offshore I fly. If I fly more than 162 nautical miles offshore, it's an international trip. And I was away from home for 55 hours and 30 minutes. And that's important when looking at trips. How much time are you away from home, right? So this is a 3-day trip, right? And I was away from home for about 55 hours and 30 minutes. So but I was paid 28 hours. So it was a high paying trip for how long I was away from home. You'll see London trips don't pay anywhere near as much as Incheon does. Again, I have a video about this Incheon trip. I enjoy Incheon. It snowed when I was there. I hate snow, but I was able to go to Costco and get some mushroom soup. Get something different. My next trip, I had a lot of time off. I actually had nothing for this week of the flying. I kind of dropped everything. This trip was during the Dallas Snowmageddon, when it snowed in Dallas and the flights canceled because the airport in Dallas could not handle the ice removal off the runways. It was not an airline issue, it was an airport issue. I told the airline, I will do this trip for you for time and a half. And it's a software program we use. And I just select the flight, tell them I want time and a half only. It's awarded in seniority order and then some. A quick example, if Kyle lives 4 hours drive away, he's also off the same amount of time. We're both qualified for the trip. The trip's leaving in 3 hours. If Kyle says, I need 5 hours to get there, I live 10 miles away. I say I need an hour and a half to get there. Because it's realistic for me to pack my bag, get dressed, iPad charged, drive to the airport, yada, yada, yada. Hour and a half. Even though Kyle could be way senior to me, because I'm closer, the airline could pick me. Now, if the trip's tomorrow, the airline's like, okay, well, Kyle, you get the trip because you're senior to Darren. So, but that's how, and they agreed to pay time and a half. Now, this was a flying pilot trip. Well, it was awarded as a relief pilot trip, and then because of the Snowmageddon, the flight was delayed to the next day, and for some reason, the scheduling department swapped me and the relief pilot, so I got to fly it, and she had to do the relief pilot. It is what it is. It paid the same either way. My hourly pay was $7,034.87. My international pay was $115.50, and then the premium, I get an extra 50% pay on international pay and my hourly pay. I got another $35.17.44 on my premium and $57.75 of premium for international pay. I was away from home for 46 hours and 19 minutes. So less time away from home, but again, the actual hourly was less than the Incheon trip as well. So after that, I had a few days off again, and I went to work on the 19th of the month. This was a pickup trip I did. This was a London trip. I needed to fill a hole, right? I had cleared out my whole schedule, and I kind of looked for, I'm always looking for something better. And this was in there. I went, well, it's London. It works weekdays. Let's do it. So it was January 19th to 21st. 19 hours, 35 minutes worth of credit, standard London trip. I was a relief pilot for this trip. Got there, didn't do much, slept. It's cold, got my udon noodles, walked around for a bit, got my steps in, went to Whole Foods, back to the hotel, played some Madden, went to bed, and flew back to Dallas. This trip paid $59.63.91 hourly, $97.92 for international pay. I was away from home for 46 hours and 35 minutes. So again, 3-day trip, similar to Incheon. Incheon's away from here for 9 hours more, but I also got 9 hours more pay for that trip. So there's perks too. That's why Incheon is a more productive trip than London trips are. Now, I got back from this trip on the 21st. On the 22nd, I went to Madrid. This is a back-to-back trip. So I worked 6 days in a row. I came home from London, saw the family, had dinner, breakfast with the kids the next day, sent them off to school. I annoyed my wife for a couple hours, and then I went to Madrid. Actually, so I picked the kids up from school and went to Madrid because I went to a late sign-in for Madrid. Anyways, the Madrid trip was worth 20 hours and 16 minutes worth of credit. I was paid $61.72.01, $101.33 in international pay, and I was away from home for 48 hours and 57 minutes. This was also a relief pilot trip. This video hasn't come out yet. It'll be out next week, and it'll be a video covering London and Madrid. It was a good trip in Madrid. A little bit cool, but not too bad. The guys I was flying with, I went out with them around Madrid. They were both, the captain especially is like, he's a farmer from up north. That's his other business. He has lots of business actually. But he's a farmer from up north. He's like, Darren's not so bad. I went, dude, I'm freezing. I had my electric hand warmers in my hand. I had a hat on. I was cold. So as far as my monthly compensation goes, total monthly compensation, I was paid 266.11 in hourly wages. My total per diem was 803.21. Again, per diem, I'm paid per diem from the sign in of a trip until I sign out of a trip when I return to base. So when I'm flying, walking through the airport, sleeping, yada, 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 I'm being paid my hourly per diem. That just pays for all my, meals and incidentals while I'm on a trip. So I never spend that much money in a month as far as my per diem goes. And then I was paid $513.33 in total international pay. And my estimate for my 401k contribution is $53.15.24. And that's how much my airline is putting into my 401k. That's not coming out of my paycheck. That's being put into my 401k from my airline. I do put in a good percentage of my actual pay into my 401k as well. Again, I'm very fortunate to be a line holder for January, and I got to be a line holder for February. Just a little bit of foreshadowing for next month. I was awarded 2 Buenos Aires trips, 2 London trips, all relief pilot. Again, I dropped and traded into a Incheon flying trip, a London relief pilot trip. I'm okay with that. Actually, I was awarded that trip and I kept it. Then I was a Madrid flying trip and another Incheon relief pilot trip. So 2 relief pilot and 2 flying trips for February. 12 days of work for 30. I think it's a 30-day month as well. It might be 31 days. I have to look at the calendar. And then it's worth about 96 hours of total credit. Should be another good month as well. Now, as far as the looking at reserve or line holder, there's perks to both. As a line holder, I know exactly what days I'm flying, what time I'm flying, like supposed to leave and come back. It makes life planning easier. So if I have to, if I'm supposed to sign in at 4 in the afternoon and be done at 2 in the afternoon, then my wife and kids know, okay, well, dad will be home for breakfast, help kids get ready for school, be home all day in case we have to take kids to school or take kids to the doctor, take the car in for service, repairman, whatever. Then when I get home, okay, well, Darren's gonna be home at 2 or 3 in the afternoon, so he'll be home for dinner and that kind of thing. Versus reserve, I know I typically bid short haul reserve will have a call out time. If I'm on reserve on Monday, for example, on the first day of a string of days on reserve, I know I'm on reserve at 6 in the morning. That's it. So they can call me or contact me at 6 in the morning. That gives me a flight time, maybe at 10 a.m. to report to the airport. But I won't know that until Monday morning. So I might be home all Monday morning, all day long, or I might not be home at all. I might be gone Monday and gone for the next 4 or 5 days. So it's the unknown versus the known. There are perks to reserve. If you're on reserve, and you're a senior or just lucky, you could possibly work 3 days for the whole month and get paid for over 100 hours. Again, I'm being paid about 96 hours next month, working 12 days. I'm going to be working all those 12 days. If you're on reserve, you're always front loaded 76 hours worth of credit. So as long as you're available every day, every reserve day, you get paid 76 hours. You might sit at home every reserve day. Unlikely, but it could happen. And you still get paid 76 hours. Or you could pick up one trip that touches a day off. And that's something that we can do at this airline. You can't do it everywhere. But you could pick up one trip that touches a day off, maybe an Incheon trip that pays 28 hours. So now you're being paid the 28-hour Incheon plus the 76-hour reserve. And suddenly you're getting paid for 104 hours and you're having to work 1 day off. See, so some people bid reserve to be an opportunist, to get more money, to not work so much. Some people bid reserve because they need days off. Some people get reserve because they're junior like me. So that is my month in review. My name is Darren. I'm a dad, airline pilot, and husband of a scientist. I make videos about once a week about my career. I love my career so much. If you're wondering, Darren, how did you go from the cubicle to where you are now? That's a great question. Somewhere on this video right now is a video about how I got here. It's my first time putting it on, using this feature on YouTube, so click on that. But first, click on subscribe. Have a great day, and as always, thank you for stopping by.